All right. Welcome back, my friends, to the podcast that never ends. It never ends because it's your podcast. I'm the host of the Arena of Ideas. Of course, I am the host and creator, Mike Kingston. Basically, what's going on is I'm changing the format up a little bit. All the stuff on the backside is going to be all the information about the podcast, how to get at the podcast, all the places to listen, which is now 15. I definitely want to state that. I also want to state that thank you to Sprecher, Speaker with an R, for giving me this opportunity to voice my opinion on different things, which is, of course, the podcast Arena of Ideas. All right. This is the experiment at the crossroads between content and conversation reinvented. It's a podcast for anything, everything, all things for everyone. It's a triad of talk. There's a bunch of different topics of discussion, bullet points if we wanted to get into it. If I have people on and stuff, we want to talk about straight fire, no holds barred, off the cuff, so on and so forth, right? There's a whole bunch of them. And real quick, I'm going to jump in. For some reason, on episode 42, I did not have the microphone, due to technical difficulties known as me. I didn't have the microphone on to make sure that we got the mic check, which was the Beastie Boys and John Wayne done. And so I'm going to be doing those in this one. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get into those two here in a minute. All right. So I am the conduit of content, voice of the people, for the people, and by the people. It's an all-information podcast, wielding truth, humor, wit, sarcasm, freedom, like a verbal weapon, a man, a message, and a microphone, correct? If you're screaming at the TV, the radio, the sky, or in your head over the BS that's out there, this is your place to be. If you've got rants, raves, beefs, issues, problems, all these different things, people say, oh, well, I don't have a problem or an issue. I have a complaint. Well, they're all the same. And I want you on here. If you have an idea to talk about, guess what? You get full credit for that. If you want to come on here and have a conversation with me about your ideas and things because you know more about it than me, then by all means, let's have that conversation. All right? The views and opinions expressed in this and all Arena of Ideas podcast episodes are that of the host and guests, not to be taken out of context or misrepresented by any means possible. I'm covering my bases there. You know what I'm going to get into? I'm going to talk about the places to listen. And I've got it right here in front of me, so let's do it. Okay, now if you're not sure, I got people still telling me, oh, Mike, by the way, I can't seem to get on the podcast. I don't know how to listen. Well, guess what? There's 15 places to actually listen. All right. iHeart, Spotify, Sprecher, Google, Apple, Deezer, Podvine, Pod Addict, Podchaser, Castbox, JioSaavn, Google Search itself, YouTube Music, Amazon Music. It's a massive list of places to listen. I want to get those out of the way because, again, people are telling me, I've even got business cards that actually have got my phone number, my email, and everything else on there too. I'm trying to make this as simple and as easy as possible, and it's simply getting an opportunity to listen over hearing and hearing this podcast. All right. So what's going to happen is I'm going to do the mic check, and I'm going to do the mic check and remember the legends, okay? I'm going to jump in and do those because due to my technical difficulties, my inability to, I didn't turn the microphone back on. Again, I'm human. If I make a mistake, I make a mistake. I make an effort to try and be better for next time. But you know what? I don't Photoshop anything. I don't do anything else in the improvement of anything. I simply do what I have to do, this podcast, to make sure that, look, we're all human. Humans make errors, but we try to get better for next time. All right. So the next thing you're going to hear now is I'm going to get into those two really quick, and then we're going to go back into the 43rd episode. For the 43rd episode of this podcast is, Are You Needy? Are you needy? And 3 question marks behind it. That's really, truly the greatest question, right? Because, everyone says they're not needy. It's somebody else. They pass the buck. All right. So the funny part is, are you? By the time it's all said and done, you should be able to answer that question and or tell other people to also listen, and maybe they can find out if they're needy or they're not needy. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break into a quick commercial break, and then we're going to get right into the 43rd episode of the Arena of Ideas podcast. Again, I'm Mike Kingston, the host creator of Arena of Ideas. And the 43rd episode is Are You Needy? We're going to do what I just said and getting into the mic check, and then also the Remember the Legends quickly covering for 42. Again, this is episode 43 of the Arena of Ideas podcast. We'll be right back. Okay. We're right back here with the 43rd episode. Welcome back. I like to chop this thing up, and I like to break it up with some bumper music. You can't eat that pizza, right, in one bite, unless you're extremely hungry or something. No pun intended. Okay, so what we're going to do now is I'm going to cover the 2 things, basically, that we're talking about dealing with. Episode 42, I screwed up, and I did not do the mic check nor the Remember the Legends. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get into that right now, and we're going to cover that immediately, so then we can get that all done, and then we're on to Are You Needy, the main part and topic of episode 43. All right, so the Beastie Boys. We're going to start with the mic check. The Beastie Boys. Adam Ad Rock Horowitz, Adam McConch, and Mike D. Diamond. Man, that's a tongue twister right there without even going into the rap music by them and everything. Back in 1981, became the bombastic, outspoken rhythm renegades, the Beastie Boys. Forming from a hardcore punk band in 1979, originally from the Bronx in New York, hip-hop, rap, rock, and also alt-hip-hop, at first opening for... Okay, here we go. At first opening for Madonna, 1980s dance icon and singer Madonna. All right, dropping it heavy and hip-hop onto the world, Licensed to Ill, dropped, and so did the Culture and Experience. They hit the scene. Yes, other acts had been out since the 70s. The Beastie Boys brought a different vibe and feel to the scene, selling over 20 million records in the USA and 7 million abroad. Taking their style of rap and a little New York flavor, if you will, you get 3 ultra talented performers adding to a huge clique of the 80s rap and hip hop scene, making it memorable. Check out their catalog of great and timeless anthems. Still rock this party 8 days a week, quote from them. Cold kicking it live, quote from them. They did it like this, they did it like that, they did it with a wiffle ball bat, y'all. Gotta fight for your right to party, and so on and so forth. Those guys were just amazing. They were incredible. And, I mean, you hear their music on the radio still today, out there all the time, on all, pretty much covering all channels and everything. In fact, I think they started out originally as punk or something like that as well. All right, so that covers the Beastie Boys. And give me a moment here, and we're gonna go right into Remember the Legends with John Wayne. All right, I know you're thinking I'm breaking tradition or breaking breaking the way in which I do this, the podcast. Look, I'm human. I make mistakes, but I also want to make sure that we're taken care of in the process of doing the podcast and making sure we're getting all the things out there. The reason why I started doing, again, thanks to Nick. He's the one, Nick from Pueblo. He's the one that originally helped me come up with an idea, the inspiration, if you will, for the mic check. Again, Nick, he knows who he is from Pueblo. And basically the Remember the Legends, I came up with that too, because you got people that don't know who's on someone's t-shirt for the mic check. And so then it goes into this situation where most people don't even know who the heck the band is or anything else. They need to learn. Well, the same thing with the legends, because just like the history of the country, legends are legendary people that have made, true iconic impacts when it comes to entertainment and the sports and all kinds of different things. They're just mainly these great, larger than life people that, older people have forgotten or younger people don't even know, and it needs to get out there. And a lot of these things I do for the mic check and for Remember the Legends, they're not even talked about or spoken of. And it's sad because, those are important parts of our life. Okay. So John Wayne, all right, born May 26, 1907 through June 1979, Marion Robert Morrison, a.k.a. John Wayne the Duke. And let me tell you something. He was a huge figurehead, and he's a real tough guy, a real cowboy, and a person that really represented when it came to the country. And if someone called you're like John Wayne or something like that, that's an amazing thing. And again, look into that. The Duke, or Duke Wayne, an American actor who became a one-name icon and reputation as a cowboy, created a culture and toughness that carved out a cinematic greatness, got his start as a stuntman, spanning over 50 years and 175 films. I'm figuring that also covers his time as a stuntman too. Had to earn his way for many roles. I mean, there's a lot of cowboys and things out at that time. So, I mean, you're fighting off probably 10, 20, who knows how many people for every movie and everything else. Amazing, right? Right. Basically, Clint Eastwood and John Wayne had a feud. They were really a cause for wondering what could have been. Because Clint Eastwood, another huge star that did a bunch of westerns and things like that. Amazing. I mean, it would have been really interesting if they could have gotten along, but both were great. He basically lived a quiet life off screen with multiple marriages and acting memories. To me, he represented basically the greatness that really exemplified and embodied America when it came to the attitude, the gumption, and all things. Toughness, man of action, didn't back down, and why his nickname is the Duke. A basically rare breed, and really in his time, you think Americana, a John Wayne. Let's see, you think America. John Wayne was right there back in 1956. The Searchers basically considered his finest work. Film yet I like The Shootist, Rio Bravo, True Grit, and things like that. Rooster Cogburn is another one he did. Anyway, hobbies. He liked to play chess, bridge, poker, and fishing. So look into his filmography. Check out the legend, one-name icon and hero who really exemplified what a cowboy is. I mean, he really did. There's other ones did that too, but man, it's like Evel Knievel and people like that. And I've already discussed him, but anyway, that gets into those. I'm going to break away one more time with a little bit more music, and we're going to get right into episode 43. Are you needy? That's our topic of discussion. Again, thanks to Allie from Indiana by way of Pueblo, who gave me this wonderful, she had this great idea, and it was just, I was impressed, and I thought it was the coolest thing ever, because, that's what I want. That's exactly what she did. It's exactly what I want here on the podcast. It's an opportunity. People have ideas. She goes, Mike, you know what? I have this idea about this episode, and I'll get into exactly the definition of what I'm about to talk about. Anyway, we're going to go one more time into a little bit more bumper music, and then we're going to get right into episode 43. This is the Arena of Ideas podcast, episode 43, Are You Needy? And we'll be right back.
She's out of control. Oh yeah, she need it, want it, out of the control. Yeah, she's out of control. And maybe it's out there. Maybe it's out there. Yeah.
All right, we're back. Well, again, welcome back to the 43rd episode of the Arena of Ideas podcast, Are You Needy? And I had just tipped it off. Again, that I broke tradition in what we do here. I also broke tradition on a number of things. I've got, people come up with ideas and ways in which to improve the podcast, ideas for the actual podcast, and everything else, down to conversations, whatever. Look, it's your podcast. I'm just simply the host and creator of it. I'm telling you, anything that can be said, it can be done. And again, Tim had come up with some ideas, and so that last episode, you kind of heard some different ideas and ways in which to conduct it and handle it. Look, this is a living, breathing thing. It's, it matters to us all, and it's here for you guys. I have this voice, and I have these ideas and things, but it's really, just like I've always told you, you're my family and friends out there listening and being a part of this. If you're just simply listening, then fine. Or if you're on the podcast itself, or if you have ideas, all these little things are ways in which you create and you make your podcast better. This is your guys' podcast. I'm just simply the person that had the opportunity from Sprecher, asked me if I wanted to, if I had something to say, and I could definitely get it out there. All right, so again, Allie, she's from Indiana by way of Pueblo, Colorado. She's out here, and she goes up to me and she says, Mike, guess what? I have this idea for you. She's in college and everything else, and she's been studying psychology, and a part of psychology in the process is a scientist or doctor named Maslow, and he had a hierarchy of needs that basically all humanity truly needs. All right. So anyway, again, she came up with that idea, and so I told her, so you know what? That sounds interesting. Kind of like talking about episode 42, which was, energy, emotional, sympathetic, and beyond vampires that take our energy. Yeah, I could talk about it. There's a hot button topics and all these other things that everybody else is talking about. And, it's fine. You can talk about it all, but all that's going to be drowned out. It's not going to be listened to. It's not going to be paid attention. I'll be covering other things later. I've got, I've got better than 80, 50 to 100 ideas that I have written down. I just haven't gotten to them all. There's only so much time to get all this done. So anyway, we're going to get back into it. Episode 43. I don't want to go on some tangent and just, bore you to death with it. It's important. So again, I didn't really know or hear of Maslow's hierarchy of needs that he had. Again, tying in also the reason why it's called Are You Needy? And by the time it's all said and done, we're going to find out if you truly are needy. Or if, you agree with this, disagree with this, or if you have other points of interest and views and comments that you want to get out there about this or any episode. Again, because you can go to michaelkingston723@yahoo.com. You can also go to my phone number, which is published. You can tell me word of mouth. And those are mainly the ways you can get a hold of me and let me know what's going on. All right? Please do. You got an idea or something else? Please I'm all ears listening, and we need this. We're talking about it. We're discussing things about this. So is everybody else. And that's why it's important that this podcast is here. All right. So Are You Needy is the episode. Again, thanks to Allie. Delving into the very depths of necessity, according to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, with conviction for life's eternal, burning questions, and those who oppose finding holes in the very structure and premise of his vision and findings. Through it all, we'll take a look at the hierarchy to hypocrisy, and beyond where 81 years ago, a pyramid of perception, because it's in a pyramid. He has 5 separate levels of this pyramid that he talks about the different ones. All right, so evolved into one of the most cognitively contagious, ideas in behavioral science. Maslow viewed human motives as based upon a intimate and universal predisposition into 5 categories of findings. Here we go. The 5: self-actualization, esteem, love and belonging, safety needs, physiological needs. That's the 5. All right. So anyway, that's the 5. That he comes up with, and it kind of covers the bases. Mind you, this is back in 1943. Incredible that he can, all that time ago, he came up with this entire idea and way in which to get this whole topic out there. All right. So again, Allie, what a great topic of discussion. Taking a 80-year-old idea and thesis and applying it to today's world of chaos, social media, nanosecond everything, technology, a apathetic world, and depravity of the common good of mankind. You look at his ideas in general, back in the 40s and 50s, and before that too, of course. Society was definitely a different place. It looked upon everything differently. It was about taking care of your neighbor, love thy neighbor, common sense rules, decency, kind of the things I'm trying to bring back with logic, reason, common sense, and all these different things that I try to apply, and utilizing influences from print media, radio, TV, and so on. There were certain standards and certain ways in which that everybody lived and did things accordingly. They really did. Way back then, it was, people had respect for each other, for one another. They respected their parents. They would do certain, they followed and would abide certain rules and different things and made sure that they were, representing their best self and doing it with manners and grace and style and all these other things. But they always made sure that they were being respectful in all processes way back then, 43. So now my compelling argument on this entire thing is to look at all these, look at the 40, the over 80-year-old or 81-year-old idea in Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and then bringing it to today. We're in 2024 and looking at this today. Does Maslow's hierarchy of needs, does it still have a place here? Does it have a place in society? Do we have all those things going on, or are we a lost society that this is not possible? Or is it? It's an interesting argument to say that idea long ago could be applied to now in 2024, and actually, in modern times now. And that's my interesting idea and edge on this situation. And again, Allie, thank you for this. So I've already gone through that part right there. So let's go into it. We got I'm gonna run through the different ones and what they are, and then we'll go in and discuss, basically the different ideas and things. I add a little bit to each one of those different rungs on the ladder, if you will, the 5 for Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And then I go into some of the discussion on, dealing with, those ideas that long ago out today. All right. So self-actualization, desire to become the most that one can be through everything being handed things on a platter, not incentivizing hard work and effort. The coronavirus really exposing many had feared when you monetize society to do nothing. It creates a procrastination world. Excuse me. That was an effect according to the world, right? Exactly. Okay, so I'm not saying this applies to everyone. Some among us are what I call the 1% club of motivation. Simply put, are you 1% better today in all things than yesterday? This is a rather great first rung of the pyramid. With giving out trophies to all who participate, and even in schools, sharing grades to make sure no one fails is robbing the opportunity from those who opine for becoming exceptional and the very best they can be. The harder you work, creativity, innovation, gumption, and more really exemplify what America used to stand for. It's still there if you're willing to do what it takes, right? It's just you actualizing, basically becoming aware of yourself, and in the process, appreciating yourself and doing other things to make sure you are the best you can be as an individual. Oh, and don't worry, you can write these down if you want to, or you can look them up yourself. That's what I did. I just did the research and looked everything up and got a schematic on his hierarchy and everything. And even if it comes down to you sitting there listening to the first part, which is talking about the self-actualization, and then pausing, and then think about yourself that way. Think it through, because again, this is his hierarchy of needs according to the human experience and condition that we all go through. If we have these needs, if we have these different needs and things, and we can meet them, we can be the better, the best version of ourselves, basically, is what, I'm gathering from the information that I got, of course, about this. So after each one of these, go through, pause it, and then think it through, or just play through. It doesn't really matter. And the cool part is that you can do that, right? You can pause it. You can go back and play it. You can tell others about the podcast. You can also subscribe and, follow and thumbs up, and however you do on the 15 places to actually listen, go in and do the way you can to keep this going. How do I keep it going? I keep it going by simply everybody listening and all those good things. Let's get back to this. I'm not here to go on a tangent. Sorry. Just saying that, please do get out there, get word of mouth, do what you got to do to all listen and make it. I want you guys to be a part of this because, again, it's your podcast, but get other people involved, get other people listening. Please do. It helps the entire process. I'm asking you guys, please do. Let's go. Let's get this going. Let's get this big. Let's make it happen. Okay. So that's my self-actualization, I guess. LOL. All right. So 2, esteem, respect, self-esteem, status, recognition, strength, and freedom. Maslow, while creating this pyramid, didn't have a crystal ball to predicting this becoming a real challenge of all the 5 due to social media, the political landscape, and a me-first mentality pulls at the very fabric and tapestry of life today. I feel this might hold great importance in really bringing to the surface where the future lies for the next generations. The schism between failure or success, the separation between it. If this pyramid were created today, here might be the headline, right? Controversial, provocative, hate speech, critical, and unsafe for words talked about it, spoken of it. Break down each word and really shows great self-worth, value, and all should aspire for. Yet today, with snowflakes, cancel culture, virtual signaling, gaslighting, rewriting, language definitions, and having a revisionist history would pose quite the contradiction in this process. And also doesn't allow for anyone, in the process of, feeling motivated, being self-confident, and having all of those wonderful qualities, right? Okay. I got some more esteem down here. So esteem needs. Before you can become a self-actualized individual, you must have your own self-worth and a level of esteem, appreciation of self, knowing yourself first, and the way to coexist in relations to others in life. Other related dignity, other related dignity, personal achievements, prestige, a satisfaction of self-esteem gives way to self-confidence, worth, strength, capability, adequacy, being useful and necessary in the world according to Maslow. That's 2. Huge, man. What a visionary, what a thinker, and what an oracle. And Sears. I look at this in the fact that he has those 5 things down, and it really gives way to a lot of things. It does. It's huge. First one's mass. All these ones are all 5, and they're all major. Again, some other people along the lines could be jealous. Other doctors and scientists could be jealous. Could be, wishing it was them that came up with something like this. This forward-thinking person in Dr. Maslow. Well, again, other people want to try and disprove the fact that you don't need those things and all this other stuff. For every person that succeeds and everything else, there's always someone else out there that's going to try and defeat that person because they're like jealous, or they think they're more important or something else, and they want to see people fail. So again, to me, these are great things. And again, that's number 2, going into the esteem part. All right. Number 3 is what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through all these, and then we're going to take another little break with some bumper music. Make sure everybody's awake out there. Everybody's okay. All right. So I've got 2 of them down. Third one, love and belonging. Friendship, intimacy, family, sense of connection. The way the world gone bipolar without a touch of reality. So as I delve into each of the list, which seems like revisiting history, know this, especially younger people seem to push away to some degree from contact, right? And in fact, younger people were already doing that, but then you throw in social media, and you also throw in the problem with COVID and stuff that, it makes it really difficult. It was already a challenge, and it makes it a very over-the-top challenge. So the COVID and social disconnect makes this seem miles away in discussion. Friendship used to be something you could hang your hat on, right? Exactly. So, I didn't get into some full-blown discussion. Again, I don't want to beat anyone's head over. I don't want to beat anyone over the head with this. It's just important, need to know. And again, are you needy? Like the title of this episode says, are you needy? Are you the one out there that has your hand out, is a stage 5 clinger, and all these other things, right? Exactly. So I'm just trying to throw those funny little words that we use now, like ghosting and needy and all this sort of stuff that's out there today, but then apply it to here. Okay, so let's see. Safety needs. That's 4. Okay, safety needs. Financial security, freedom from fear, stable health, and anything that could lend our day-to-day lives a level of predictability and security. This leads humans to prize systems consistency that bring order to their existence in the form of law or religion to balance things out. All right. So basically everybody wants some form of consistency, some form of routine. The human experience and condition typically is people want change, but gradual change. They don't want quick, on the fly, up in your face change that's not going to allow them to feel comfort in the way in which that life is for all of us, right? So some challenges to this level could be wild animals, extremes of temperature, criminals, assault and murder, and tyranny to form a way to buck this rung of the needs ladder, to really cause upheaval and discontent. You know, a lot of the things you hear about today, upheaval, chaos, all these crazy things. Can't believe it. You know, they had this shooting over here. They have this over here. You've got, people afraid to go out of their houses. People are afraid to get back in their houses because of all the, people taking things over. I mean, just, you would never imagine that, 20, 30 years ago that all these things that have happened now, are happening and actually going through and not good, right? Just not good. I mean, it doesn't allow for us the opportunity to really appreciate when it comes to life itself. How can you appreciate it that way? You can't. Next to esteem in this hierarchy might be the most difficult to say presently that over the span beyond 80 years is possible. He forgot to maybe add chaos, which is where humans in the world must endure on the daily today. All of the checks and balances we knew before, such as have a rainy day fund, live on the right part of town, attend the best schools, have family to depend on, trust the government, love thy neighbor, and many more have seemed to erode and aren't available today. They are definitely void in our lives, right? Not saying this is not possible, just seems a long way from where they could be. Definitely does. That's a huge one. Again, I'm not going by any one order. There's all these different flow charts or these different illustrations that have the different rungs and different orders. I just know it's important to get them all out there. We're going to talk about the discussion on all of them. I'm going to go to another bumper music break, which breaks it up. And then we'll get right back into my ideas on it, some of the anti-ideas and people trying to disprove this whole thing and try to shut him down on the ideas of this. And then, does it apply today? Does it still apply out there today? And can we use this as an important discussion for all of us? Because again, a lot of people, not everyone knows about Maslow's hierarchy, Dr. Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You need certain things in your life and you want, to have security and have all these other things in your life. You just didn't put them in this perspective when it came down to pretty much a way in which to track this and way in which to look at it in a way, look at it that we all can understand, a way in which we all can understand this. Okay. So then I go into 5 and I'm going to explain that. And then we're going to go to the bumper music and we'll come right back and then we'll finish the other discussions here. Okay? All right. Physiological needs. Usually the first one of the rung of the chart because of the fact that they keep us alive through ultimate survival. Food, water, shelter, and air. Without these, you can't have higher thinking and achievement. If anyone is depraved of any or all of them, it causes the person to panic and turn a blind eye to all other components of this episode. Another thought is this was published way back in the 1940s, and I'm sure the options and resources were more scarce than compared to today. Of course, right? With technology, everything is in abundance with a price tag attached, right? Just know this. It's an answer that needs no introduction in its simplest form on display and for all to do and succeed at. Physiological needs is this physical, actual things that we have to have when it comes to, eating and surviving. And we're basically, eating and all these other things that we need to have is our physical needs to be taken care of. And usually this is the first on the rung. I just kind of went out of order. I just kind of looked them up and just kind of started writing them down. And I touched base in more detail on some of them as other ones. Again, I don't need to, some of it I don't need to beat in the ground with. Some of the other ones kind of, they kind of hit home a little harder and I wanted to put a better description of them all. Well, so how are you with this so far? Where do you see yourself? Are you thinking Dr. Maslow's idea that is over 80 years old yet still matter today? Or are we thinking that Dr. Maslow is wrong and his hierarchy of needs is not worth the paper it's illustrated on and all the ideas on how to coexist among the world? Okay, so I'm going to leave it right there. I'm going to put a dog ear on this thing real quick. And we're going to get into some other bumper music right now. And this is the Arena of Ideas podcast, episode 43, Are You Needy? I'm your host and creator, Mike Kingston. We'll be right back.
Somebody blames me when you're cold and dead. Feel free to hurt me when I need your help. You say I'm guilty to save your own honest. Take my mind, spin it in the ground. Freeze my life, must be in the mouth. Take my mind, spin it in the ground. Freeze my life, must be in the mouth.
All right. Sorry, God, OCD. Basically, welcome back to this episode. Thank you. Again, my bumper music, I love it. Royalty free, of course, for all those you listening and wondering if I copied this from somebody else. Anyway, LOL. Again, welcome back to this 43rd episode, Are You Needy? You yourself, no one can determine anything for you, but in your head, you can hear all these things. And hopefully it educates you and entertains you at the same time. That's what we want, man. We want to learn. We need to learn something. And I always want to, I always consider everything an awareness exercise. So I hope this is applicable to this here episode too. All right. So we're going to get back into it. Pick up where I last left off. And we're going to get into this other part of it again. How are you thinking about this so far? You see yourself as applying these different principles, if you will, of his hierarchy of needs and the five different things you have that you need to have in his hierarchy of needs, and so on and so forth. Okay, so anyway, I'm not going to give some of the oppositions to this chart. I'm going to give some of the oppositions to this chart. I'm also going to analyze the burning and eternal question, right? Given what you know, what is a need versus a want? I wanted to throw this in because, dude, so important now today. You almost have to look at this for cutting down clutter and everything else, and also spending, because you got to keep your money close to your vest with inflation and everything. So what I always do is I call it a need versus a want. And it's every time you see something, man, I really want that, but do I need it? And so then maybe later, you can't buy everything all at the same time. You can't do all that, or else it becomes a problem and you can go in debt. Anyway, not to hit you over the head with this, just saying, again, throwing this into, this is my kind of adder into this, a need versus a want. And, this is kind of a good strategy when it comes to different things and learning in life. So if you're a younger person or whatever else, or even older, look, it's a need versus a want. Did you truly have to have that? Or did you just want that and no matter what, you're going to get it? but you had to get it right now, a nanosecond. A long time ago, people would do is they would save up their money and actually save up all the money they need to pay for something, and then they would go out and actually pay for it. Therefore, you don't owe for a credit card or for something else in the process. You don't owe for anything. It's simply you make sure you go out there and it's whatever you can afford, which is a great strategy. It really was a good long time ago, and it would really be nice today if people can do that. If you can, great. So again, what is a need versus a want, and how does that apply to the chart? Apply that to the chart and see what you think, because a need versus a want, I think that's, he didn't know that at the time, Dr. Maslow, but guess what? It's important too. A need versus a want is a good barometer and way I believe in making decisions based upon logic, reason, and finances. Probably your sanity as well, right? Exactly. So again, this is need versus want. It's determined by whom is making the decision as to what matters most. I hope to bring awareness and content to us all. To us all. You make the call. I hope this helps out everyone. The chart is one of the most impactful theories, psychology, and personality sciences there is. Yet with great ideas, wisdom, and skepticism, you'll always have opposition to all things. Because of the economic growth and a few other ideas not included in the chart, almost as if this were drawn up in a perfect world through a prism and optics, not beta tested in the real world applications. Many, through either jealousy or insecurity, poke holes and tear at the fabric and foundation of each and everything on the chart. Even though Maslow has created a hypothesis based upon his experience, science, and knowledge given when he started in the 1940s, Maslow was so far ahead of his time and a real trailblazer on behalf of science. Right or wrong, it's really who views the chart, listens to episode 43, Are You Needy? And then, as we all do or should, to have a better perspective on how things in life is a learning experience, and we can take from what you can use in our toolbox. We build during the course of life, right? So maybe Maslow has a great chart on all things, or just arrogance thinking without perspective, right? This is only answered by the beholder, you listening. Do these needs still play a big part in today's world of more than 80 years? That's another good question mark. Ask yourself. You've heard everything else. You've heard the facts about each and every one of the 5 items that's on his list, right? Is on his hierarchy of needs. And then it's posing the other situation, need versus want. And then also incorporating and mixing in the fact that, those are some old school terms and a long time ago terms and everything else. But you know what? Does it play a big part today? And can you take, again, from different things you've learned and listened to today and take it to your own toolbox? All right. Do these needs still play a big part in today's world of more than 80 years? Again, that's your question. And I mean, to me, yes, it does, but that's my opinion. I'm I'm the voice here and I'm putting this out there, but you listening, does it matter? And then again, do your own research, go back into this yourself, look it up and see how it applies to you, or if it does or does not. You can make those decisions yourself. That's why we have this arena of ideas, right? This podcast, because it's everyone else's ideas based upon the 3 things, which is a triad talk. It's thumbs up or thumbs down. Do you approve or disapprove of it? It is the Knights of the Round Table and having a discussion based upon different things that are spoken. Or is it, the last part is also town hall, where it's a discussion about one idea or topic. Someone stands up and makes their point based upon what the discussion is. So kind of like right here, right? Exactly. I myself think Maslow has something of substance, social conscience, and awareness. I know thanks to Allie from Indiana by way of Pueblo for doing what I say all the time. And all I say in my EP episodes is, if you have ideas you want out there, by all means, let me know and why it's your podcast and a arena of ideas. Back to it. Yes, do your own research and comment by word of mouth, text, email your ideas or this to and all episodes. So, do you like his chart or not? Question mark. Does those who oppose it, are they right in the very way, in what they stand, in the way they stand? A need versus a want, I believe, is a sage advice from help keeping things in perspective while allowing options for logic and reason to help guide us all. Right? Exactly. I mean, that's what it comes down to is, anyone could do a podcast. Anyone could do anything they want to do. I mean, you could put your mind to and otherwise, especially out now with technology and everything else. But when it comes down to the human condition and all things that matter to each and every individual person or as a social collective of all of us, the bottom line, hate to coin phrases, but, does it apply to you? You may have not even heard of this or didn't even know. So, I'm going to pose you this little last vestige of the closing of the actual information dealing with the actual episode itself. All right, so now, are you needy? Are you? We don't know. Only you can make the decision, and maybe you'll admit to it, maybe you won't admit to it. A stage 5 clinger, a person that hangs on to everything. Are you desperate, trolling, and more? That's a little tongue-in-cheek fun, talking about, it's his hierarchy of needs, but this is the way in which I kind of tie this in for a little bit of fun, LOL, right? Okay, so, or are you more confident, empowered, aware, self-sufficient, the best version of yourself, going forward? Well, guess what? Only you can answer that question. We are all a work in progress. I hope episode 43 has helped just be 1% better today than you were yesterday. For the ultimate awareness exercise, Arena of Idea is here. And again, Allie, I want to thank you again for the opportunity to put that whole thing together. That you came up with the idea, everything else. You really brought to the forefront what embodies this podcast and everything else. That like I said, that's what I want. I want people to have, their opportunity to, have the First Amendment, have, freedom of speech. I mean, there's other parts of the First Amendment, but the freedom of speech part, not to be censored, silenced, squelched, shut down, treated like a doormat. All these other things, people have all these ideas, but you can see in their eyes, they don't want to say a thing because they don't know if they're going to piss someone off, if they're going to get in trouble for it, or someone's going to burn them because of something they simply said. It's a long time ago. People could say what they wanted to say, and people just dealt with it, and they were able to just speak their mind, basically. And now, with the thought police and everything else going on, you really can't. But in this podcast and all of the podcasts, it allows you the opportunity, and it gives you the runway and the room to really get things discussed of whatever you want to talk about. All right, so now I'm just going to jump into the comedy corner. Again, I opened the thing up with, taking care of what was not discussed in 42, which was John Wayne and the Beastie Boys. I hope you enjoyed that. And again, it broke script basically from what I normally do. But that's okay. I wanted to get it out there, get done. I'm only human. But now let's go into the comedy corner. Let's have some levity, huh? I mean, that's some heavy topic of discussion. Talking about everybody, every single life and all forms of humanity. That's what that's about. Well, now, this is called humor versus the humanity part, right? So, okay, so let me read some of these wonderful, wonderful jokes in the comedy corner. All right, so People are making apocalypse jokes like there's no tomorrow. What is the tallest building in the world? Think it over. Process it. Okay. The library, it has the most stories. What kind of magic do cows believe in? Moodoo. That's right, moodoo. I just broke my guitar. It's okay, I won't fret. All right, okay. There's the comedy corner for you. Okay, so I'm going to make one more little break of time here with a little bit of music, bumper music. We're gonna tie a bow on this thing and move on to the next discussion in episode 44. I love the sound of that because 44 is so close to 50. I just remember I want to get to that benchmark of 50 episodes. I really do. Then of course it's keep expanding and keep going, get to 75 and get to 100. But first of all, walk before you can run. And do your first episode before you can do the last episode, right? You got to do all this other groundwork. Well, again, I'm going to get into a little bit more bumper music. And, you know what? Real quick, as a shout out, let's do this. Shout out for, again, Shah's, SHAH', Kebab and Gyro, that wonderful restaurant I talked about in episode 42. Check out episode 42. Go back and listen. And hear the commercial read I did as a plug and prop and a shout out to Shah's Kebab and Gyro. What a great place. Again, wonderful place. Just more props to them. Again, they're still working on it. They've got, their first restaurant on Eagle Ridge. They've got their other restaurant they're building in Pueblo West here in Pueblo, Colorado. And they also have a food truck and other options. So please do check out that commercial. Again, a big shout out and props to them again. Love those guys. Love the food. Great eats, everything. Check them out. You hear that? That's that bumper music I was talking about. This is episode 43 of the Arena of Ideas podcast. Are you needy? Well, are you? I'm your host, creator, Mike Kingston. We'll be right back. All right, everybody. Welcome back to the 43rd episode of the Arena of Ideas podcast. Are you needy? That is, again, an internal question. That is a personal question. And it's one only you can answer. But again, this is an exercise of awareness. And I just, like I said, I want to make this personal because you're all my family and friends. And you guys, everybody out there matters and everything else. Love all you. Back to, I gave the listing of all the different places you can listen. There's like 15 places to actually listen now. No excuses, guys. Look, I don't want to tell anybody what to do. Just get out there, take a listen, grab one of these ideas in one of these episodes, listen to it, see what you think. If you like it, you like what you're hearing and everything else, please, by all means, keep listening. And if in there you have the opportunity to subscribe to my podcast, there's some different levels. There's a $2 level to listen. There's a $4, $6, and $8 level to listen monthly. And it helps support me in the process of being an independent creator of my own podcast. I'm not Rogan. I'm not Dr. Phil. I'm not all these Dr. Phil or these other millions of people that all have sponsors and everything else. I'm simply on my own. I'm independent. I'm trying to get out there, being the voice for all of you in the process of this podcast. I'm not telling people what to do. If you have the opportunity to do that, great. It helps me and it helps this podcast and it helps everybody. And it's also a shout out to everybody else out there doing a podcast, taking the chance, taking the risk and getting out there and really doing it. Like I said, this whole thing has just been lovely, wonderful. I love this. I'm driven by doing this. I love this every minute of every day. And the fact is this. Thanks to everyone listening. Please tell others about the Arena of Ideas podcast. If this is your first time, welcome. If you've been here before, appreciate you continuing to do the process and do the hard work and be out there in the trenches with me, listening to this podcast and again, other podcasts. But when you're out there and you're listening to this 15 different ways, please, by all means, hit the thumbs up, hit subscribe, download. Any way you can get at, however you listen, there's a different way in which to hit the notifications. If you hit the notifications, biggest thing is that tells you the next time the podcast is on. And like this episode comes on, I'm gonna sit there and wrap this up. But when I finish it, guess what? You can go out there. The notifications are going to go off, and it's going to tell you episode 43 of this podcast is now available, and now people can listen. You can listen to it. You can download it. Again, tell others about the podcast if you get a chance. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just saying, if you like what you hear, you like the content, you like the content and communication and everything else that happens at the crossroads here of the Arena of Ideas podcast. If you're appreciating that and liking that, guess what? Please, by all means, tell others about it. Word of mouth, whatever way you can. And however you can get at me, if you look into the bio of me and my podcast, it'll give you my phone number to text me or whatever text me. Let me know what's going on. You like, you hate, whatever's happening. Mike, fix this. Mike, I'm nitpicking, but guess what? This is getting old or whatever. I'm telling you, it's like I said, it's your podcast and I'm the host. So whatever's going to help you guys listen to this. And if it's other ideas or whatever it is that makes it to where this is an enjoyable thing for you to do. A lot of people listen to podcasts and everybody knows someone that listens to a podcast. And, see what you can do. Give it a look-see. All I want people to do is to sample and check out a couple episodes and different things of this podcast. And then if you don't like it, fine. You got a billion other options to go to and listen to. Really do. So you can make that any way you want to. That's about it for this episode. It's Are You Needy? It's about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, his 5-rung or 5-step process in which we all need. There's this. I'm going to be covering other topics of discussion from conspiracy theory, UFOs, urban legends, censorship, deep state, talking about those things, other things about the border and other topics of discussion about, people that have served as first responders and different things. I mean, I've got a whole laundry list of things I have written out. I just haven't done them all yet. You got to have time, and I want to be able to get everything out there. Plus, anybody else that wants to come join me, you got things to talk about and say, guess what? Come on here, discuss it with me. Let's have a conversation. You want to start your own podcast? By all means. I started this thing from the ground up. I didn't have to be taught by anybody, but I learned it and did it. Okay, it matters, and everyone can do this. Anyone can do this, really. Specker, Speaker with an R, gave me my opportunity and chance to get this out there. But look, the bottom line is, I can talk a discussion about regular, topics of discussion per episode. I can have people on here and we can have a conversation about whatever you want to talk about. It's an open forum for all of us, for you and me and everyone. Or if you want to, however you want to look at this and do it, please do. And I'm not going to ramble anymore. So basically, this has been the Arena of Ideas podcast, episode 43. This is your podcast. I'm the host, creator, Mike Kingston. And until next time,